Hey guys, it's Layla from Ignite, and in today's video I'm going to take you through some key aspects of form in Stephen Daldry's text, Billy Elliot for the Study of Human Experience. So, in today's video there are two key points that I'm going to go through, and those are my breakdown of analysing form in Billy Elliot in two key ways, and that is an analysis of the cinematic features of Billy Elliot, and then secondly an aspect of genre, which is that the film is of the Bildungsroman genre. But before getting into that, I thought we should do a little recap, and I wanted to pose the question, what actually is form? Because a lot of students actually get stumped on this question, that is, distinguishing between what form is and features are, or techniques within the text. So I'd just like to quickly go over that. We do have a whole video on form versus feature, but I'll just do a recap, a little quick one, in these next coming slides. So, the general point that I wanted to put forward here is that when we consider form, it's more of a macro analysis of a text. And by that I mean you're taking a step back and you're asking yourself, what makes this text that particular text type? So if we're looking at a film, as we are in Billy Elliot, we're asking ourselves, what formal elements of this text make it a film as such? Okay, now what I've done on this kind of left-hand side of the screen here is I've shown you kind of, if we look at a photograph, we're considering what elements make this a photograph or a film. When we're thinking about genre, you're thinking about, okay, well, what makes a text a drama or a romantic text? Because genre also plays into the broader construction of the text. We're thinking big picture. Or poetry, what makes a particular text a poem? You're thinking more broadly the rhyme, the meter, and so on within that type of text. So form macro, a consideration of what has made this text that particular text type. As we move to the right-hand side of the screen, I'm trying to visually represent that when you're considering the features within a text, they're not necessarily text-specific. For example, the personification here of the M&Ms, personification doesn't just take place within a short story, for example. We see personification come up in many different text types because that technique functions on more of a micro level. It's sentence by sentence. So these are things like our metaphors, our similes, imagery. These particular techniques are not characterizing the text as its macro text type. So when we're thinking form, we're thinking macro. We're thinking identifying what characterizes the text as that particular text type. What makes Billy Elliot a film? And specifically, what kind of filmic tropes does Daldry use within his particular filmic style? And also, what contributes to the coming of age, the Bildungsroman nature of that text also? And when we're thinking about techniques, we're thinking about, okay, on more of a micro level, what techniques are being used within the text. I just also want to flag that micro and macro, or the language techniques and aspects of form, they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, they often interact. You might think about how a particular shot or a motif throughout the film contributes to the broader genre or the aspect of style that's being used, part of the macro construction. All right, so hopefully that's a nice little recap for you. And in this video, like I said, we're focusing on form. We're focusing on the left-hand side over here. What characterizes Billy Elliot's text type and the genre that's used throughout. Okay, so to break it down again more simply, we're asking ourselves, what makes Billy Elliot a film? And further, what kind of film is Billy Elliot? And that's what I mentioned earlier on, the term the Bildungsroman, the coming-of-age tale. All right, so when we're answering that first question, we're wanting to focus on the cinematic forms that Daldry employs. And in the second question, we're considering the Bildungsroman genre. So what makes the text trace this kind of development of our central protagonist, growing from adversity to fulfilling his dreams by the end of the text? That's what contributes to the coming of age nature. The journey that Billy undergoes and his growth as a person is what the Bildungsroman genre kind of encapsulates, which unfolds in the film. Okay, so some General points to consider. If you do get a question on form, don't stress, because the likelihood that your essay already deals with form is quite high. Because if you're discussing things such as the mise en scène, right, the construction of everything, the placement of everything within the frame, lighting, costuming, the cuts, the duration of particular shots, and camera angles, all of these points actually contribute to the cinematic form within the text. So make sure when you're looking over your evidence, consider, okay, am I actually discussing aspects of cinema within the text? And by that, what I'm trying to say is you shouldn't really be focusing on aspects of the text to do with what's said. You're not studying the script, you're studying the visual representation. And that's actually a key point. So don't fall into the trap of quoting dialogue too much unless you have a question that specifically asks for that. But when we're considering the form and the analysis that you should typically be doing on Billy Elliot, it's more to do with the visual construction, the filmic aspects of the text. Okay, so that's an overview of the key aspects of form. So now I'm going to take you through some key aspects of the filmic style that Daldry employs and some really frequent filmic techniques that he uses throughout, which contributes to his form. And the first one is that the film is really characterized by compositional juxtaposition. Now what that means is when you look at the shots throughout the film, there's this contrast, if you like, or juxtaposition between where Billy is situated and how he's represented in light of his surroundings. And that really symbolizes and functions to represent this conflict in the film, this conflict between Billy's internal desires, that is his kind of want to become a dancer, and how that's quite feminized through the views of his father and those in his surroundings, but also his filial obligations, his want to appease his father. And then we also have this tension of the political turmoil, which really characterizes the context and the backdrop of the film, and how Billy's kind of childhood innocence and his flamboyant dance sits in opposition to the strife and the political turmoil of the time. So this is an example of how the form, the compositional juxtaposition, reflects the key values of the text, those being the tensions between Billy's desires and the limitations placed on him by his context. We then have the use of non-diegetic music throughout. Now, obviously, music is so central to the film because of dance, and dance functions as Billy's escapism, to escape the trauma, to escape his, at times, violent family relationships. Now, just to clarify, in case you don't know, we've got what's called diegetic and non-diegetic sounds within a film. Diegetic sounds come from within the frame. So this is not placed on top of the frame through editing. So for example, when you're watching this video right now, if we were to be a bit meta, my voice is diegetic. It's coming from within the frame. If we were to have music playing on in the background to add some kind of ambience that wasn't actually being played within this room, that would be non-diegetic. It's extra, it's beyond the frame, and therefore it's non-diegetic. So at points throughout the film, there is actually diegetic music being framed. For example, in the opening of the film, when Billy is jumping up and down his bed, the music from the record player is diegetic. But at other points, music is used somewhat symbolically to express the internal emotions of Billy's character, and that's non-diegetic. So note the importance of non-diegetic music and how this exacerbates or informs the audience's understanding of what's going on emotionally within Billy's character. And the third point I wanted to point out is the use of visual motifs throughout the film and how they symbolize Billy's journey. So if you look at this shot right here, you can see the ballet shoes are a motif because they symbolize his passion, and that is for dancing. And we know that earlier in the film, he feels he needs to hide that visual motif. He needs to hide his desire for dance. But as the film progresses, they become so central to his character and they inform his identity. So that visual motif there, it symbolizes Billy's journey and how it ultimately comes to be fulfilled by the end of the text. Okay, so there's a bit of a discussion of form there in terms of the cinematographic aspects of the film, and consider those when you're crafting your essays, and make sure that you're focalizing on the visual aspects or the sound aspects as opposed to merely quoting dialogue. That's really important. I just want to quickly kind of discuss what I meant by the Bildungsroman genre and how that plays out throughout the text. So Bildungsroman translates to the coming of age genre. And this is where we see the growth in a particular character. We see them encounter adversity, overcome those challenges, and grow to become fulfilled by the end of the text. And I just wanted to frame the ending here, which has this beautiful circularity about it. It's almost palindromic in a sense, because the ending of the film speaks to the opening, right? Because we have in the opening Billy doing this very kind of carefree dance, and we realize how dance and movement of the body serves as this escapism for him. It's a form of expression. And we know that as the film progresses, he really struggles to reconcile that love because of his relationship with his father and the contextual constraints, those being those of the politics of the time with the miners' strikes and his family's involvement in them. But ultimately at the end of the film, and you can see almost the similarities in the tonality to make even more obvious the circularity in Billy's tale, that initial love and passion comes to him performing right at the end in the Swan Lake production. And it goes to show that that initial passion has become fulfilled, he's become successful by the end of the text, and ultimately his tale has kind of bought into that genre, the Bildungsroman, the coming of age tale. Okay, so in today's video, I've discussed form. Note that we've made sure that when we're discussing form, it's the macro construction of the text. We're considering what makes this text a film and what kind of film is it. We've gone through key aspects of the filmic form. Remember the broader points of the mise-en-scène, the lighting, the costuming, and then we've discussed some really key aspects of what I think characterizes Daldry's form in the film, those being the compositional juxtaposition, the use of the non-diegetic music, and the motifs throughout the film. And then we've taken a look at the genre, the key aspect of the coming of age tale, and we've considered the circularity in the narrative and how particularly the ending of the film fulfills those Bildungsroman tropes. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this has clarified any issues you've had in reconciling what form actually is, particularly in relation to Billy Elliot. If you have any questions, please do comment. Otherwise, do subscribe to our channel if you're enjoying this content, because we've got much more coming your way. Click the bell if you'd like some notifications. But thank you again for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. If you do like the content, subscribe to our channel and we'll have more videos coming your way.
That's right, guys. Thanks for watching. And please make sure you check out our online resource database. We've had a team of state rank achievers and heads of English put these together for you, covering everything from essay structures and examples all the way through to craft of writing and comprehension skills. So check them out at ignitehse.com.au, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.